After that, we ring it using a cloth, and you can start to see the gold. The silver color there is mercury, and when we heat the gold up, the mercury evaporates and it turns yellow.
Tanzania just struck a $523 million gold jackpot, its first major mine in 17 years. A fully self-funded project, Nyanzaga Gold Mine, promises millions of ounces and a new era of resource power. But what does this mean for Tanzania and Africa itself? Is this the start of a mining revolution like the one Ibrahim Traore dreams of? Let's find out. For years, Tanzania's mining sector has been relatively quiet, overshadowed by the giants of Africa, such as South Africa, Ghana, and Sudan. But all that changed with a single announcement. The Nyanzaga Gold Mine, a $523 million project that is shaking the foundations of both Tanzania's economy and Africa's mineral politics. What makes this even more striking is not just the size of the investment, but the way it is being executed. Perseus Mining, an Australian gold producer with deep roots in African operations, has chosen to self-fund the entire development, a rarity in an industry usually reliant on syndicated loans or joint financing. This decision signals high confidence not only in Tanzania's vast untapped mineral potential, but also in its regulatory and political stability. For the country, it is a turning point. The first major gold development in 17 years, a milestone that repositions Tanzania in the competitive hierarchy of global gold producers. Until now, much of Tanzania's mining narrative has focused on existing mines sustaining output rather than achieving breakthroughs. Nyanzaga changes that dynamic completely. The numbers behind the project are monumental. Once operational, the open-pit mine is projected to produce 200,000 ounces of gold annually from 2028 to 2035, with peak production reaching 246,000 ounces in its best year. Throughout its 11-year lifespan, it could generate 2 million ounces of gold. In terms of financial return, the internal rate of return is projected to range between 19% and 34%, depending on global gold price fluctuations, and its net present value could soar up to $617 million. This level of profitability places Nyanzaga among Africa's most attractive new gold projects. But perhaps what is even more noteworthy is the ownership model. Tanzania's government has secured a 20% stake, meaning the state is not just a tax collector, but an equity partner. This approach ensures that a share of the profits flows directly into national development funds, rather than leaking entirely into foreign hands. It represents a new way of thinking for African states, which have often been criticized for lopsided contracts that offer little long-term benefit. The physical transformation is already underway. Roads are being built or upgraded, worker accommodation is taking shape, and even a 53-kilometer transmission line is being constructed to power the site. The project includes extensive early work on community resettlement and social infrastructure, a reflection of the growing demand for mining projects to deliver not just shareholder value, but tangible benefits to local populations. This breaking news isn't just about gold. It's about leverage and influence. Tanzania is signaling to the world that it is ready to move beyond simply exporting raw materials. It is actively aligning with policies that prioritize domestic mineral processing and value addition. In doing so, Tanzania joins a small but growing list of African countries, like Burkina Faso under President Ibrahim Traore, that are rewriting the script on resource ownership. Traore has famously rejected exploitative resource deals and pushed for industrialization on African soil rather than abroad, a stance that has inspired policymakers across the continent. The announcement has raised a profound question. Is Nyanzaga just a single mega-project, or the first step toward a broader African movement to reclaim control over its resources? The Nyanzaga Gold Mine is not just another addition to Tanzania's mining portfolio. It is a strategic pivot that redefines how the nation approaches resource development. While the breaking news focused on the monumental investment and ownership model, the true weight of this project lies in its scale, design, and far-reaching implications for Tanzania's economy and Africa's evolving mining narrative. Unlike many African gold projects that rely heavily on foreign financing or risky syndicated debt, Nyanzaga is built on a self-sustaining foundation. Perseus Mining has committed to funding it entirely from cash reserves and bullion stockpiles, a move that removes external financial pressures and creates a leaner, faster implementation timeline. This independence not only de-risks the project financially, but also signals trust in Tanzania's political climate and legal framework, qualities that foreign investors often scrutinize when considering high-value infrastructure commitments. The project is geographically strategic as well. Nyanzaga lies within the Lake Victoria goldfields, a region historically rich in deposits yet underdeveloped compared to neighboring gold belts in Kenya and Uganda. This site selection alone is a testament to Tanzania's untapped geological potential. With new technology, advanced survey methods, and updated extraction techniques, Nyanzaga could serve as a template for other unexplored mineral zones, effectively making Tanzania a future hub for responsible, large-scale mining. From an operational standpoint, Nyanzaga is engineered for efficiency and long-term resilience. Plans call for an open-pit mining operation capable of processing millions of tons of ore annually, with optimized systems designed to maintain a steady production stream over more than a decade. Crucially, the mine will not rely on outdated, labor-intensive models, but will employ digitalized control systems and modern environmental safeguards, reflecting an industry shift towards sustainability. Water recycling systems, dust suppression measures, and strict tailings management protocols are already part of the design, indicating how Tanzania intends to balance development with ecological preservation. The scale of infrastructure accompanying the mine is equally significant. The construction of a 53-kilometer dedicated power transmission line alone highlights the transformational nature of the project. Such an addition doesn't just power the mine, it improves grid stability in surrounding areas, offering a potential lifeline for local communities that previously struggled with reliable electricity access. Similarly, new roads, logistics hubs, and worker accommodations are being designed not as temporary solutions, but as lasting assets that outlive the mine itself, benefiting local businesses and transportation networks. Nyanzaga's importance extends far beyond physical infrastructure. It represents a shift in policy thinking, where resource development is not just about extraction, but about capacity building. Local content programs will prioritize Tanzanian labor, offer technical training for local engineers, and foster partnerships with domestic suppliers. This approach gradually reduces dependence on imported expertise and equipment, laying the foundation for an indigenous mining service industry, something that has historically been dominated by international contractors. In the broader African context, Nyanzaga's significance resonates with the Pan-African push for resource sovereignty. Leaders like Ibrahim Traore have emphasized local control and value addition, sparking debate across the continent about how resources are managed. While Tanzania's strategy is more collaborative than confrontational, it still mirrors this continental mindset: ownership stakes, domestic value addition, and long-term economic integration. Ultimately, Nyanzaga is not merely a gold project. It is a strategic instrument for economic diversification and national resilience. If executed effectively, it could propel Tanzania into a league of resource-driven economies that use natural wealth as a springboard for industrialization and social development. And given its timing, amid high global gold prices and a wave of African resource reforms, Nyanzaga may well mark the beginning of Tanzania's mining renaissance. Let's pause for a second to say, big thank you to the Black Culture Diary community, where Black voices, stories, and legacies are preserved and amplified. By becoming a member, you're not just supporting the channel, you're becoming part of a powerful cultural movement. Let's continue. The scale of the Nyanzaga gold mine is impressive on paper, but its true power lies in what it means for ordinary Tanzanians. For years, large-scale resource projects across Africa have often been criticized for being enclaves, isolated zones of wealth extraction that rarely benefit surrounding communities. Nyanzaga is aiming to break this pattern by placing local economic growth and social development at the center of its strategy. One of the clearest immediate impacts will be job creation. During the construction phase, thousands of Tanzanians are expected to find employment, ranging from unskilled labor to skilled technical positions. Unlike short-term road projects or one-off infrastructure developments, A gold mine offers long-lasting employment opportunities throughout its lifespan. This means electricians, welders, mechanics, engineers, and IT specialists will be in demand for at least a decade. Importantly, Perseus Mining has pledged to implement skills transfer programs so that local employees can move into supervisory and management roles over time, building a domestic workforce capable of sustaining future mining ventures independently. The revenue streams generated by Nyanzaga will also be substantial. With a 20% government equity stake, Tanzania is positioned not just to earn tax and royalty income, but also to collect direct dividends from profits. This is a structural shift from older deals where governments received only modest royalties, while foreign investors captured the lion's share of returns. Combined with corporate taxes and export duties, the mine's output could generate hundreds of millions of dollars annually, funds that can be reinvested into education, healthcare, and infrastructure development across the country. For surrounding communities, the project is already introducing transformational infrastructure. Beyond the dedicated power transmission line and new roads discussed earlier, Nyanzaga includes commitments to community resettlement programs with compensation packages, new housing developments, and modern amenities. Schools, medical clinics, and water supply systems are being planned not as temporary corporate charity projects, but as permanent facilities managed in partnership with local authorities. This approach is designed to leave a positive footprint long after the mine ceases operations. Another key economic driver will be the creation of secondary industries. The supply chain required to operate a high-capacity gold mine is enormous, ranging from fuel providers and maintenance contractors to catering companies and local transport services. By sourcing goods and services locally wherever possible, the Nyanzaga project could catalyze new small and medium enterprises (SMEs), providing a foundation for broader private sector growth. For local farmers, for example, supplying food to mining camps can translate into steady revenue streams, while logistics firms gain stable contracts delivering materials. Environmental and social governance (ESG) commitments are also set to shape the economic benefits. By integrating environmental safeguards and community consultation processes from the start, the project seeks to avoid the costly disputes and reputational damage that have plagued other mining ventures in Africa. This is significant because investor confidence and community support are often the deciding factors in whether projects succeed long-term. Nyanzaga's proactive approach could therefore set a benchmark for responsible mining in East Africa, drawing in even more investment over time. This model resonates with the philosophy spreading across Africa, exemplified by Ibrahim Traore's emphasis on resource sovereignty and people-first economics. While Burkina Faso has taken a more nationalist and state-driven approach, Tanzania's Nyanzaga project offers a hybrid model: collaborative international investment, combined with strong domestic stakes and community integration. Both paths share one principle: natural wealth must translate into tangible benefits for citizens, not just foreign investors. As the mine edges closer to production, the economic ripple effects will only expand. Employment, infrastructure, and business opportunities are likely to create a multiplier effect, boosting local purchasing power, stimulating regional economies, and even encouraging other investors to consider Tanzania as a stable, resource-friendly environment. Nyanzaga is therefore more than a mining project. It is a trigger for socio-economic transformation that could redefine how Tanzanians view their resource wealth. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. The Nyanzaga Gold Mine is not emerging in a vacuum. It is part of a continental awakening where African nations are reassessing how they manage their natural resources. And perhaps no leader embodies this awakening more than Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. His rise to prominence has been defined by a radical message: Africa must stop exporting raw wealth while importing poverty. Traore has repeatedly emphasized that resource sovereignty is not optional, it is essential. In Burkina Faso, he has introduced sweeping reforms aimed at nationalizing key mining operations, prioritizing domestic processing plants, and renegotiating legacy contracts that were seen as exploitative. Instead of simply welcoming foreign companies with minimal oversight, Traore has adopted a hardline stance. Resources must be processed locally, jobs must go to citizens, and wealth must circulate within the economy. This has resonated strongly with Africans who have long watched foreign multinationals extract billions of dollars while leaving behind environmental scars and limited social progress. While Tanzania's Nyanzaga project is built on a partnership model rather than outright nationalization, the influence of Traore's philosophy is evident. The 20% equity stake held by Tanzania's government is a reflection of this evolving mindset, an understanding that being a passive tax collector is no longer enough. Governments across Africa are studying Burkina Faso's boldness, recognizing that they too can demand greater stakes and more domestic value addition without necessarily alienating foreign investment entirely. This trend is creating what some analysts are calling Africa's new resource playbook. The old model was simple. A foreign investor secured an extraction license, paid modest royalties, and exported raw material. The new model, however, demands local processing, domestic stakes, skills transfer, and social investment. It's a model in which deals are scrutinized not just for profitability, but for their contribution to long-term economic resilience and sovereignty. The popularity of this approach among citizens cannot be overstated. Across Africa, youth-led movements and civil society groups have embraced Traore's rhetoric, often holding up his leadership as a blueprint for rejecting neo-colonial economic structures. In this environment, Tanzania's choice to structure Nyanzaga as a domestically beneficial, infrastructure-heavy, and equity-inclusive project fits the continental mood perfectly. It may not be as revolutionary as Burkina Faso's approach, but it signals an important cultural and political alignment with the values of self-determination and fairness. There is also an important psychological dimension to this shift. For decades, African nations often approached resource development from a position of perceived weakness, fearing that demanding too much would scare investors away. But the Traore era has normalized a different perspective. Africa's resources are indispensable, and global demand gives negotiating power, not vulnerability. Tanzania's willingness to secure a major stake in Nyanzaga while also setting conditions for infrastructure and community benefits shows that this mindset is spreading beyond West Africa and into East Africa's policy circles. Critics argue that Traore's methods could deter some foreign investment, and they may be correct in certain cases. However, Tanzania's model demonstrates a middle path, one where investors like Perseus Mining still find the environment attractive, but under terms that leave lasting value in country. This dual-track approach, hard sovereignty in Burkina Faso, negotiated sovereignty in Tanzania, could represent two sides of the same coin, an Africa no longer willing to give away its future for short-term capital inflows. Ultimately, the influence of leaders like Traore is reshaping Africa's conversation about resources. It is no longer just about how much gold, oil, or copper a country produces, but about who benefits, who controls the process, and how much value stays home. The Nyanzaga project, though far from militant in tone, is built on that same evolving principle. It signals a continent-wide shift where resource deals are no longer one-sided extractions, but strategic partnerships, and where Africa is finally starting to write its own rules for prosperity. It is important to note that the Nyanzaga Gold Mine is more than a singular achievement. It is a symbol of a deeper transformation underway in Tanzania, and, arguably, across the African continent. After nearly 2 decades without a major gold mine development, Tanzania has positioned itself at the forefront of a new approach, one that balances foreign expertise and capital with national interest, ownership, and community development. The immediate implications for Tanzania are substantial. A steady flow of revenue from gold production, combined with direct dividends from the government's 20% equity stake, gives the state unprecedented fiscal flexibility. This means more funding for infrastructure, healthcare, education, and strategic industrial projects. In addition, the long-term nature of the Nyanzaga operation offers predictable economic stability, shielding Tanzania from the volatility often associated with commodity markets. But perhaps the bigger story lies in the shift of mindset that Nyanzaga represents. Rather than simply welcoming investors on their terms, Tanzania is negotiating deals that prioritize local value creation. a stark departure from older contracts that saw African resources shipped abroad with minimal domestic benefit. This is not a radical break like the one spearheaded by Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, but it still embodies the same core principle. Africa's wealth should fuel African progress. This approach has ripple effects well beyond Tanzania's borders. As other resource-rich African countries observe the Nyanzaga model, there is growing discussion about whether similar hybrid frameworks can be applied elsewhere. Nations historically dependent on extractive industries for quick cash are now asking harder questions. Should they take ownership stakes? Should they mandate local processing? Should they demand more community investment? In this way, Tanzania's quiet but firm negotiation style may become as influential in its way as Traore's headline-grabbing sovereignty campaigns. However, challenges remain. Ensuring that the benefits of Nyanzaga reach ordinary citizens requires robust governance. Revenue management, transparency, and anti-corruption mechanisms will be critical. Without them, even the best-designed projects risk repeating the mistakes of the past, where wealth concentrated in the hands of a few while surrounding communities languished in poverty. Tanzania has made early commitments to strong environmental and social safeguards, but delivering on these promises consistently will define whether Nyanzaga becomes a model for success or a cautionary tale. The global context also matters. Demand for gold is surging amid economic uncertainty and shifting geopolitical dynamics. This places Tanzania in a favorable position, but it also means external pressures, whether from commodity markets, foreign partners, or rival nations, will intensify. How Tanzania navigates these pressures will show whether it can convert a resource boom into a sustainable national legacy rather than a fleeting windfall. And then there's the continental question. What kind of future does Africa want for its resource wealth? Ibrahim Traore has provided one answer: hard sovereignty, state control, and an unflinching rejection of perceived exploitation. Tanzania, through Nyanzaga, offers another answer: balanced partnerships that protect national interests while leveraging foreign expertise. Both models challenge the outdated notion of Africa as merely a supplier of raw materials to the rest of the world. Both models insist that Africa's natural wealth must translate into independence and development, not dependency. As the first gold bars pour from Nyanzaga in 2027, Tanzania will have an opportunity to demonstrate what this new era looks like in practice. Will it inspire more nations to rethink how they engage with global mining firms? Will it accelerate Africa's pivot toward industrialization and self-sufficiency? These questions are bigger than one project, but they are tied directly to it. One thing is certain: Africa's mining story is changing, and Tanzania has placed itself squarely at the center of that narrative. Whether this becomes a golden age of sovereignty and growth, or another fleeting chapter of promise, will depend on the choices made now, not just in Tanzania, but across the continent. Should Africa follow Tanzania's balanced model or embrace Traore's hardline sovereignty approach? Let us know in the comments section. Will gold wealth finally translate into real development for ordinary Tanzanians? Is this the beginning of Africa rewriting its entire resource future? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.